Good afternoon. It's Vijay here. Today is Sunday, 20th April 2025. Welcome to my weekend thoughts on the markets and beyond. While I will discuss about what happened yesterday and last week on the stock markets tomorrow, I would like to draw your attention to a new topic which has excited me and for which we are planning to invest in the next few days. That is copper. Now, if you look at the metals, you will generally talk about gold, silver, and oil, and maybe sometimes steel and iron. But the most important metal, apart from aluminum and steel, is copper. Copper is now being called the new gold. If you look at why copper is being called the new gold, we will just go through some introduction before we come to the main topic. So there is a company called Barrick Gold, which is one of the largest producers of gold in the world. They also have copper mines. So now they are changing their name from Barrick Gold to Barrick because they are now having going to push much more resources into copper because they believe that copper will do much better than gold in the medium term. When I say medium term, say up to 5 years. So there has been this move to change it from Barrick Gold to Barrick. That's all. And then there is a recent article about is copper the new lithium, where lithium is a precious metal, copper is a base metal, but the topic, the news item talks about, or the article talks about why copper is now the new precious metal because of various reasons, which we will talk now. And here is Mr. Anil Agarwal, who is a big commodities guy who owns Vedanta, and he says that it's estimated that in the next 25 years the world will consume more copper than it is done in all of history until now. So we can see that as a challenge, but also it's a huge opportunity. Now, huge opportunity for the producers of copper because many of the copper mills copper mines have been closed because of environmental damage. But now, risk of environmental damage. But because now the demand is so much, so now they're opening up the mines. Even in India, we have the mines in Hindustan Copper, which is opened up with the JSW Steel Group in Jharkhand last year. So Hindustan Copper is one of the largest producers of copper in India. 80% of copper in India is made by Hindustan Leaf, Hindustan Copper. Apart from that, you have Vedanta and other companies, which I will delve into a little later. So he talks of India is blessed with immense reserves. Hindustan Copper can yield 5 to 10 times more output. Also, we can continue to explore more underground. So we can play a major player in the global copper economy, which is dominated by Chile as of now. There's a wonderful book recently which has gone on to Amazon Times and New York Times bestseller, The War Below Lithium, Copper, and the Global Battle to Power Our Lives by Ernest Schrader. It talks about how copper is going to become more and more important because now there is a battle for the critical minerals. That is what he talks about lithium and copper. The gold and silver are precious metals, but they're not critical minerals for the global economy. Of course, silver is somewhat critical because it finds its way into EVs and other manufacturing activities. But copper is the most important them of all because they're talking of building copper getting into electrical vehicles, solar panels, cell phones, and millions of other devices means the world must dig more mines to extract lithium, copper, and other vital building blocks. This is a bestseller. So you must, as I mentioned, copper is the third most consumed metal after steel and aluminium. Copper is also nicknamed as Dr. Copper in the market because of its perceived ability to reflect and predict the health of the global economy. It's got widespread use across various sectors, infrastructure to electronics, and therefore any economic activity, if it is to maintain, then copper is required. We know copper wires are there, copper is there in everything, winding, transformers, name it, copper is there. So will copper continue to be important, especially when we are having the global downturn, recession? We are talking of various things. So will it be really that important? But if you look at what the technological advancements are happening and the green revolution, that solar panels or EVs, they will, I believe, continue to grow. I don't think people are talking of any recession in them. So therefore, copper will be important there. And then urbanization and infrastructure development. If you look around us, we are seeing there is no stoppage as far as infrastructure development is concerned, as far as buildings are concerned. Therefore, wiring is required, and therefore, copper will continue to have its importance. Supply constraints, as I mentioned, mines have been closed down because of the pollution. So now they are forced to open. Then investment appeal. Now, people who have invested in copper, like people who have invested in silver, gold, oil, and other commodities, they have got reasonably good returns, except in oil. Oil has been negative returns year on year. So investment appeal, we'll look at what how good copper has been as an investment in the next graph. Then the global policy and economic shifts, people are moving. I mean, if you're having so much of constraints, then the countries which are producing copper will have a upper hand in terms of global infrastructure development and copper's role in digital in transformation, which we talked about, EVs and cell phones and so on and so forth. Let's look at what happened to copper futures in the last 1 year. If you take from this is copper futures traded on the US exchanges. If you take from pandemic, people said things will get worse because if economic activity is not there, copper will not do well. But you look at it, copper has done extremely well. It has gone up 175% right from the days of pandemic, that is March 2020. If you just look at a year on year basis, copper has given 27% return, which even our Nifty or any other index has given. So index, for instance, Nifty has given only about 7%, Bank Nifty might have given a little more, but nothing like 27%, which has been given in copper. So copper is a hidden gem, I would say. People have not concentrated on copper. Hindalco is one of those companies which is producer in copper. Apart from Hindustan Copper is the big boy. The king of copper is Hindustan Copper. Other than that, Hindalco is there. Hindalco, if you observe recently, it has suddenly become active. That is because people are buying into Hindalco not only for copper, for aluminum also. For commodities, now people expect a commodity boom because they expect China and US to have an agreement. And once the agreement is through, then people believe that China will bloom and commodities will boom, and therefore aluminium, copper will be in the forefront. So if you see, Hindalco is been doing very well. Then if you see Hindustan Copper itself, Hindustan Copper made a new high sometime last year. It fell down significantly because the liquidity is low in that, because it is held 66% is held by the government of India. So if some big fund wants to sell, then there is no buyer on the other side. But when it starts going up, for instance, here the way it has gone up is also because of low liquidity. I have an eye on Hindustan Copper simply because I think now when there is a copper boom, this is the kind of share which will go up faster than a Hindalco or a Vedanta because of the lack of liquidity. So that is why my thinking is that I would like to buy Hindustan Copper next week. We don't have it, but I plan to buy. Take Vedanta. Vedanta also hit a all-time high very recently, and now it has formed. I mean, it has got a good base, and now it is on its uptrend. But the only thing in Vedanta is it is held by Mr. Agarwal, who keeps on changing, strategies. So one has to be a little careful there. Hindalco, of course, is a Birla company. Hindalco is a steadier company. Hindustan Copper is a less liquid company, but it has got great potential because it's the big daddy of them all as far as copper is concerned. If you look at the NSE Commodities Index, you see this NSE Commodities Index, we have seen a big fall, and then it has risen dramatically in the last 10 days. This is a daily chart, the others were all weekly charts. So it has already gone above the January levels. So we are now seeing almost from year to date, it is almost trading at the high. Of course, slightly lower than the recent highs, which we saw in February. But I think it's a matter of time before it crosses that. So there are very few indices which have crossed the January highs. This is one of them. Of course, the banking index has crossed. So this is one of them which has crossed. So therefore, if you look at either fundamentally or demand wise Or if you look at what India is doing and what has been a past history of copper, I believe that the copper should do continue to do well, and I think there is got a bright future. So what we are planning to do is next week we are planning to shave off quite a bit of our exposure in gold, because I believe gold has been we had a good run. We got a reasonably good, why reasonably 45% return we have got. In fact, gold and silver saved our portfolio from going into negative overall because of the huge fall in equity. We also had our share of problems in equity, but gold and silver helped us to stay positive. So now we are planning to move significantly from gold into copper next week. At this point of time, my eyes are on Hindustan Copper. But please note, this is not a recommendation to buy or sell. I am not a SEBI registered advisor. I am just a guy who observes the markets. And what I feel now is what I felt last year. Last March, I did a seminar for doctors all over the country, and I had said 25 will be a year where precious metals will become more precious. We've already seen that both in silver and gold, more so in gold. But I think now probably gold may rest a little bit because it's highly overbought. Technically, fundamentally, maybe it's got a long way to go. But even a fundamentally good stock or commodity will take rest after you have a fantastic run. I believe, I may be wrong, I believe that gold may rest here, or the upside may be limited for the medium term, which is about 6 months, whereas copper may do the running now, which it has not run till now in any big manner, but which showed its colors just a few weeks ago. So now we are, in my opinion, we have got prices which are interesting. So I would like to go ahead and buy. But whatever you do, I hope it is successful. Have a nice weekend.